KDP now requires disclosures on the use of artificial intelligence when creating your books, your covers, your imagery, etc. We have lots of videos here on the channel linked down below, but let's talk to a lawyer about it.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called the IP Professor that's dedicated to all things intellectual property.
We're really excited because on the channel, we have been talking about a brand new development with Amazon's KDP that now requires disclosure of artificially intelligent generated content for our books, meaning the imagery, the text, the covers, the manuscripts of our novels, and AI being used with them. Now, we've talked about it. We've shown the tutorials on the page. We'll link them down below. But Tony, from a lawyer's viewpoint, what does this look like for us?
Well, this is a massive move for a lot of reasons, but I'm going to just start it straight up. Amazon, I think, is taking a position that I think a lot of publishers and a lot of other entities that are in the space of providing content should be doing, which is creating some level of transparency between the consumer and the marketplace. We're in this space now where I think that with the evolution and the innovation of artificial intelligence, it is scarily becoming better. And look, I think if you were to go on DALL-E, Midjourney, or any other platform that generates art, I think that you could make a reasonable inference based on like the general look of the artwork that something was generated using artificial intelligence. For example, for whatever reason, generative AI platforms that are generating artwork have still not figured out that there are 10 digits on a human hand, on both hands. For whatever reason, I could have like they can make a photo of a human being, let's say raising their hand, and there are just like 7 extra fingers that are on the wrist for whatever reason, which I guess is a work in progress. But even then, the capability of ChatGPT writing certain text, or even when you use these generative AI artwork platforms, if you ask it to do something like scenic, let's say draw something in the style of Van Gogh mountains, it's impressive. It looks like Van Gogh did it. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's certainly very, very good at what it does. By having these types of check boxes, or I guess these questionnaires on the back end by KDP, that is asking the author to be truthful and honest about whether something was generated using artificial intelligence, that's exactly the right way to do it, because now you're creating an ethical standard within that platform. And I think this is a calling card with a lot of other media outlets. And not to necessarily analogize it, but this is almost like very much akin to the secondary marketplace in the fashion space, where once upon a time at the dawn of the internet, like around the 2000s, when the likes of eBay were coming out, there were tons of people selling handbags, Louis Vuitton, Chanel's, Gucci's, Versace, all these different handbags. People look at the photos. Wow, this looks great. They're buying it at a premium price tag only to receive it. And oh my goodness, it's cheap. And then they realize that they had bought a counterfeit. And it's to the point that U.S. Customs and Border Protection has had a growing issue with counterfeit goods on these secondary e-commerce marketplaces like an eBay, like a Craigslist, or even Facebook Marketplace. And so the parameters or the measures that a lot of these e-commerce websites have done is they have created authentication guarantee protocols, where, like, let's say if you are a seller and you have a business where you sell handbags or sneakers, part of the sale of that good to let's say a consumer is that the good will not necessarily go directly to the consumer yet, but rather it will go to a location center that eBay has designated with inspectors that will look at the lining, look at the stitching, and they'll authenticate that the product is in fact a Gucci, that the product is in fact Versace or Louis Vuitton or Chanel. And then once they've authenticated it, they send it over to the consumer, and the consumer can actually enjoy it. The whole premise of it is to prevent some type of fraud or inducement of inducement of fraud in that scenario, and to prevent any sort of feeling by the consumer that they were tricked into buying a product that wasn't truthfully what was advertised. Mm-hmm. I think that exact same thing is happening right now, where platforms like KDP are telling consumers what you are signing up, you're getting a product that is AI generated. You are getting a product that is not generated using artificial intelligence. They know what they are signing up for by looking at the KDP platform, seeing the product, seeing the book, seeing the disclaimer, and then they know what they're going into when they get that product. I hope that this is the means that a lot of other entities do going forward. I hope that this is the thing that we see on other book platforms. I hope that this is something that we even see on art-based platforms where, let's say you're on DeviantArt and there are people that are browsing pictures and they can know for themselves that this artwork was generated using artificial intelligence or not. This is great. I love this so much. And I think that this is a great first step to creating some type of ethical and moral standard. And again, creating that fine line in letting the consumer know what is or isn't generated using artificial intelligence.
And I'm really excited because Amazon has taken steps to protect both authors and readers when it comes to AI generated content with novels. They've been very clear about those lines. They're continuing to add in new features and layers of protection. And we want to make sure that we as authors and publishers are doing this right as well. So, Tony, one of the questions that comes up a lot is, what happens if I just check the wrong box and lie? What does that look like?
First off, never lie, just for the sake of not lying. But two, especially when you're doing something like this, if you are untruthful, this could be grounds for a lot of things. I mean, there is such a thing as a terms and conditions, and thoughtfully, if you violate or knowingly lie about something, that could be a material breach of the terms and conditions that came with you creating a KDP account. And hey, that could lead to your account closing and your inability to sell your books, right? So for that reason, don't lie. But also, if I may, the fact that a thought of someone lying on the questionnaire is a thought that crosses their mind is extremely dangerous territory. And I think a good example of showing why you shouldn't lie or conceal information is laid out in a recent decision that just happened about a few months ago at the U.S. Copyright Office, which we have talked about. There was an author named Chris Casanova. They created a graphic novel called Zarya of the Dawn that they had successfully registered in the U.S. Copyright Office in, I want to say, September or October of 2022. In their application, they did not disclose that the work was created using artificial intelligence. Made no disclaimer of that whatsoever, got a registration, and it was done and over with. And this is well into the Copyright Office coming out publicly and saying anything generated using artificial intelligence is not going to get copyright protection whatsoever. She gets a registration, but goes on Instagram, boasts about it, and U.S. Copyright Office sees it and says, let me go ahead and take that registration certificate back. And let's re-examine this. This went all the way to the Copyright Claims Board of the U.S. Copyright Office, and the Copyright Office assessed all the extra information that they needed to get from Casanova. They said that, yes, they used Midjourney to generate the artwork within the graphic novel, but they went on Photoshop and touched it up a little bit. But even then, the decision from the Copyright Claims Board came out and said that even the minor touch-up on Photoshop was not enough to carry it over the threshold of satisfying the substantial human involvement requirement that is essential to copyrighted works. However, the text that they wrote, the monologues, the other aspects that were actually authored by the human mind, that aspect of the copyright registration is still governable. That could still be worthy of protection. It's only the artwork that was generated using Midjourney and touched up on Photoshop. It was that aspect of it that will not receive the copyright protection. So this all culminated because Chris Casanova lied, boasted about it on Instagram, and learned, and learned a pretty scary lesson as a result of that. If that happened to that author, that copyright owner, it can happen to you. Mm-hmm. So for the sake of being honest, don't lie. And also, for what it's worth, not related to this, but the offense of perjury is something that the law does not take lightly, especially if you make something under a penalty of perjury. That especially is like insane, because now that's a matter of you knowingly or blatantly lying or telling the truth. That's a scary game. You do not want to play around with that. So when you make a statement under penalty of perjury, you best believe that you are telling an honest and truthful statement, because if it comes out later through other evidence that you lied, you may serve prison time. And then again, you have to ask yourself the question, was it worth it? So just be honest. I mean, let's just try to do something good in this world, right? So for the sake of, if you know you use AI, just say it. It's fine. People will love it, people will hate it, but rather, would you rather lie about that? I don't think that that's wise whatsoever. And trust me, lying is not going to get you the views, it's not going to get you the clicks, and it's not going to get you the fame. So just go ahead and tell the truth. It's going to be totally fine.
And we know that Amazon is very good about preemptively banning you from the platform if they think you have violated their terms of service and the contract that you signed by using their platform. So please, let's not do anything to get ourselves banned. We know how easy it is and how hard it is to get that reversed. Don't do it. It's not worth it. If you want to disclose that you have used AI, you can and you should. If you're going to lie about it, you're probably going to get caught about it. And we know that the book community is very willing to burn you if they discover this. So be very careful about this. We have videos discussing exactly what happens, exactly the terms of using AI, what counts as AI being used, was created by AI versus was assisted by AI. They have spelled it out for us in the terms of service, and we've discussed it in other videos linked down below. Check those out. And as things continue to roll out with KDP and in the world of the copyright side of artificial intelligence, we will be continuing to bring you videos just like this. Tony's coming back for more Q&A, so drop your questions for him down below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social medias. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called Unseen. New episodes drop every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Follow along for more upcoming episodes with Tony and drop your questions on the legal side of publishing down below. And be sure to check out our AI and publishing playlist where we have videos with Tony and on the legal, creative, and ethical side of using AI to make your work as an author better, stronger, faster without being icky about it. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.